Hello out there, this is Andreas and I'm teaching how to make digital artworks in Photoshop. Yes, and I have present the International Class of Design and Technology, Business Design and Technology, yeah. And they are so ready and they agreed not to ask questions during this recording session. Thank you, and we will see if that is possible for you. And by doing so, we can make a quick tutorial in how to make digital artworks inside of Photoshop. Okay, so inside of the folder, we have some examples by Andreas. This is just what we're aiming at. We're trying to get some kind of artwork, I've made tons of these. It's not the first time I'm doing this file, and that's just to show how different result we can actually get by just toying around inside of Photoshop. The picture we will be using looks like this. It's just an eye, and we're going to turn it into, something unique. Yeah, and to do that, we'll use this file called main resources. And when you go home, or you after this video try it out yourself, you can use the files from the folder called Try at Home Art and Collage. There's just a ton more of files, so you don't have to use specifically the files that I am using. So it's just to make it faster that I already selected some files. These were selected from the folders you can select from when you try this out later. Okay, so the first file we'll open up is I4, and of course I'll convert it to the... No, I closed the commercial, damn. Okay. No one saw that. Oh, advertisement for Roggen. Damn. Got some good events coming up. Okay, back to what we're doing. So this eye will try using a lot of different things to just make this an artwork instead of a regular eye. And for some, I think in the folder where this eye is actually located, if you get it from the other folder, the eye will actually look like this. It will be turned, it will be rotated. So if that is the case, you can always rotate pictures inside of Photoshop by doing image rotation. And here's a lot of different choices for how to rotate pictures and flip pictures, for that sake. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is actually, let's say this is a commercial for a company, and the company is called Imagine or e-commerce, I don't know. So we'll need to put an E inside of her eye, because that's the location you would normally have an E. Okay, so to do that, I'll just find my file. There's two ways of placing files that I use often, which is file open. That's if I'm going to edit something on the file that I'm going to place later. Or there's file place, which is if you are happy with how the file looks already. I think in this case, I'm happy with the file already. So file place, because I already... Whoa. Tough weekend. I already made a file ready, which is one called PSD file, and I'll just place that. That's already been extracted. The JPEG version, which is also inside of the same folder, is not extracted. So this is not the best extraction in the world. It was done using pen tool, quite fast. But it's okay for the purpose, because I'm going to blend this so you won't be able to see that there is some fuzziness to the edges. Okay, so when you place something, when you say file place embedded, it will become a smart object. That's the reason why there is a cross over the picture. That's because it's a smart object, basically saying that this is linked to the original properties of the file that you placed. It's not linked, but it's not linked to a file, but it's linked to the original values. And the reason why it's not linked to a file is because you place embedded. You could say place linked, and then it would be linked to the original file. We don't have to talk about that too much. It's not relevant. Okay, so I'm doing stuff without saying what I did. So, okay, so I'm just gonna place this again. And remember to talk while doing stuff. So you can transform it by just pulling these anchors at the edge. They should already be visible when placing it, because it shows the smart object. When the smart object is shown, if it's first placed, it will be shown with transformation, a bounding box, where you can actually pull these, handles to just make it smaller. And you can also rotate if you go all the way to the edge. So, and I think I'll just put it like that somehow, and just put it so it almost looks like it fits the iris of the person. Yeah, let's say that's fine. I could free transform it some more, but I'm not going to do that. If I accidentally clicked enter, and I was like, oh, I need to free transform, I didn't rotate it correctly, then, free transform is always Command T. On a PC, that's Control T. So you can always go back to free transform it. Yeah. Okay. So, and I actually need to go back because right now, rotating and making it smaller isn't enough anymore. I need to do something different. I need to warp it into place. So in order to do that, I will click free transform again. That's Command T, Control T if you're on a PC. And then you right click it. And choose the option called warp. So by clicking warp, you'll get this mesh. In Illustrator, you will know this as a mesh, which is actually just a division of the object into some different rectangles or squares, where you can actually just drag these. There's 9 areas where you can just pull somewhere inside of them and actually just start distorting that part of the object. So you can just actually pull it around. You can also use the handles out here. That's morely to refine an area, to more be precise, whereas you make the overall adjustment by just dragging inside the object, and then when you feel it's getting close to whatever I want it to look like, perhaps pulling the handles will just get that perfectly refined so it fits whatever need you have. Yes, and I'm not trying to make this 100% perfect, but I'm just trying to get it to almost fit the eye, because this looks very visible now, but in a moment I'll blend it so it doesn't look that visible. So I'm not going to spend too much time toying around with something that won't be visible anyways. Okay, so I'm going to click enter when I'm done doing this. You can always go back, Command T, free transform, and you can start over if you want. Yes. Okay, so inside of layers, and I've been toying around with my swatches, so you can always double click on a tab up here in panels so it collapses. And I'm going to use a lot of layers in here, so probably it's going to be a help for me that I have a lot of visibility in my layers panel. Okay, so the next thing I'll do is use my blend modes. So up here in the one called normal, that location is actually blend modes. That is where blend modes live. Yeah. So when going into this area called normal, when you start choosing some of the others, you're adding blend modes to your layer. And a blend mode is what it says. It's something that blends, and it blends with what is below. So if background layer is below, then the layer with the eon will blend with the layer which is background. So it blends with layers below, but not layers above. Okay, so and I've used this picture a lot of times and this E a lot of times, and I've come to the realization that the 2 best blend modes for this is color, dodge, and divide. Divide is so much more harsh, makes a much more a stronger, more intense look, whereas color dodge makes a more soft and subtle look. So it depends on how strong you want this to look, and yeah, I don't know. I'm more like I like intensity, so I'm gonna go with divide. But some days when I'm tired and relaxed, I go with color dodge. So it really depends on the mood. Well, I'm almost always tired and relaxed, but also energetic and spontaneous. Yeah. I'm actually the one making this video longer. Okay, so the next thing I'll do is I'll start erasing from the E, because right now the edges of the E, I don't know if you noticed, I used my move tool to just move it around a bit, because when I use the blend mode, suddenly I could see, okay, it's actually not overlapping correctly with this iris. So the blend mode will always also help you actually putting it into the right place. Oh yeah, and one more thing is that opacity, you can control this. You can dim down the transparency. You can make it more transparent by pulling the opacity handle. And if you pull it to 0, it's going to be 100% transparent. So opacity is actually the opposite of transparency. If something is totally opaque, then you can't see through it, right? So opacity is the opposite of transparency, if that makes sense. But if you make it 0% opacity, then it is 100% transparent, meaning it's invisible, and it would make absolutely no sense to have that layer in the document if it's 0% opacity. Okay, so the next thing I'll do is after having placed it, perhaps warped it a bit more if needed. Free transform, right click, warp if you needed to do that. When I'm happy, I'll need to erase some parts of the edges. And I'm not going to use a layer mask to do that, because if this object was important to me, I would perhaps erase edges using a layer mask, because you can always go back and make changes in the future. But let's just keep this simple. I would first of all right click my layer and choose for it to rasterize the layer, because if it's a smart object, it will not allow me to use an eraser on it. You see it will show this is not possible. It's saying warning, not allowed, but you can actually just click it with any kind of drawing tool, and it will say, you can't do this because this is a smart object. If you do it, it will convert the smart object into a normal rasterized layer, meaning it does not any longer remember its original values. So then it's no longer a smart object. And that's cool, because I don't need to resize this, scale it up again, so that doesn't matter. The main thing about smart objects, if it's already a pixel object, is actually the ability to scale it up again without losing quality. If you made it smaller, then you can scale it up again without there being any quality loss. And also that you can always go back to the original, actually. And there's a lot of other things that's good about smart objects, but in this case, it's not really necessary for us to have it as a smart object. So I'll click OK to rasterize it, and the small icon which was in, I'll just click undo. That small icon which is located on that layer now, if I rasterize it, it will lose that icon, saying it's no longer a smart object. Okay, another way of just making sure that it's rasterized, no longer a smart object, would be just to right click it and choose convert to rasterize layer. Yes. Okay. So down here you can choose rasterize layer, and bam, that's also a way to do that. For me, it's always just been easier to just click on it with a tool and then click enter. But that's really up to you how you do it. Okay, so I'll use an eraser, and my eraser, since last time in classes we were trying to do some retouching, and so I already set my eraser to have a low flow value. So you can either have a low flow value or a low opacity up in the content menu. That's the one just below the regular menu. You can either choose for the flow to be low or the opacity to be low. Flow to be low, yeah. Okay, so I'll just start erasing from my edges just to have the, a transition which looks somehow, more subtle and more, so it makes it look less edited and more realistic. But I think I like that content lens look, that the white shade, white lighting, whatever. This white line right here, I like that because it seems a bit like a contact lens. So I'm gonna keep that, but I'm just gonna try on the right side of this eye to make it more subtle, like that. And if you're just deleting the entire E, then it's because you have a flow value or an opacity value that is too high. I think this is actually starting to look nice. So I'm just going with this. Of course, if you had a company that was named Imagine or e-commerce, perhaps people will not even notice the E right now. So you should probably not have made this this much blend in with the rest. Okay, so that's the E. And I think we'll just skip right to the next step, which is to add, some, what do you call that? Makeup to her, around her eyes. That's called, what's that called? Not concealer, that's called. Okay, you can help me now. The not eyeliner. When you have shading? Eyeshadow. Yes, cool, fantastic. I'm low on words today, so okay. So to do that, I'll use a tool, and this is actually just to test a tool that no one normally uses. So inside of our brush area, we have a tool called Color Replacement Tool. So the Color Replacement Tool is a brush which tries to preserve the original pixels, but converts them into a new color. And so that's Color Replacement Tool. It's located on the Brush tool, and you can just hold your mouse down or right-click it to choose this Color Replacement Tool. And I'll just choose for the brush to be bigger. And I think I'm gonna go with like 150 or so, a big brush. And the tolerance is actually what determines how much color is changed. So if you get a bad result when using a tolerance of, let's say, 30%, you could try doing it with 20% or 40%. So yeah, let's just try this. My favorite color is purple, but it is. Yeah, cool. It's true. Oh, you're wearing purple as well. Nice. But purple is one of the most noticeable colors in a picture. So if I use too much of that, people will not notice much else than that color. So instead, I'm gonna go with a more, making a warm mood. So I'm gonna go with some kind of, I'm gonna go with orange. It's totally right. This is spontaneous. Whatever I do, That's what I like about Photoshop. You can just do spontaneous stuff. It's not like Illustrator where you're normally, very focused on making a path, making it precise and so on. Not that you can't be spontaneous in Illustrator, because of course you can. But Photoshop is more like into the spontaneous stuff. And some people are scared of that and they go back to Illustrator. And some people love it and they roam free as an artist. Okay, so Color Replacement Tool and any selected color. And what? Okay, so I'm already starting to do stuff wrong. I'm located on the layer called E. If I'm located on the layer called E, I can only color replace on the area where the E is. So of course I'll need to do it on the background, but that's gonna be bad if I make any mistakes. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna jump to my background by just clicking it. And why is everything locked here? I think I've hit something accidentally. Okay, so I'm gonna make a copy of the background, and to do that, I'll just hit Command J while on the background. Command J, boom. So that's Control J if you're on a PC. J as John. Yeah. And remember to be located on the right layer, because otherwise it's just gonna make a copy of the E. Okay. Yes. Okay, so with this background copy present, I'll just start coloring, because now it's a backup. You know, it's a backup. It doesn't matter if I screw up. And you know, I'll just do it like she had an accident in the makeup room. The stylist went crazy. So yeah, just go crazy, you know, act like you mean it. You could actually just make all the flesh this tone if you want. Yeah, that's looking nice. And that actually makes it seem like she has golden skin. Yeah. She was at Halloween dressed as a tiger. A bloody tiger. Okay, so from a Cranberry Zombie music video. Yeah, okay. If you don't know that music video, go home and watch it. She's absolutely covered in gold. Okay, so the next thing we'll do is we'll start using the eraser tool again, because now this does not look like makeup. This just looks like you know, face paint. So I'll just use the eraser, make it bigger, and make a low flow value again. I think 10% is probably okay. And what I'm actually gonna do before using this is I'm gonna hide my background. The background layer, I'm gonna hide that, because then when I start erasing, I can actually see which parts are being erased. So I'm just gonna hide that, and I'm gonna start erasing all from the edge, you know. I'm gonna erase into an area where, and before you start erasing, I'll suggest that you right click and just check your hardness value. That hardness value should be set to 0, because this is skin we're working with, so we need a subtle transition. And so I'll just start erasing inwards, and remember a low flow value or a low opacity if you prefer clicking a lot. I'll just and remember, this layer is just for the makeup, so I might as well just delete the hair out here. So that's not part of it. And I'll try, you know, deleting inwards to where the makeup should stop approximately. And you know, I don't know how far out she wants her makeup, but I'm just gonna go with the vibe. You know, this is probably where she wants her makeup to go to. And you know, perhaps I accidentally put some makeup into her eye, so I'm just gonna delete her eye as well. So, and then you'll notice that when you start deleting that eye, then suddenly the E pops up. And that's because you know, it's not hidden, that layer. And you're like, why does it not delete the E? Because it's on another layer. You can't, if you're deleting from one layer, you cannot delete from another layer as well, unless both are selected in some fancy way. Okay. And actually, the reason why I also want to delete the eye is because if I want to try it out in other colors, the makeup afterwards, then I could actually just use Hue Saturation to test out how this eyeshadow looks in different colors. And if the eye was still there, then the eye would change color while the eyeshadow also changed. I think this is, yeah, approximately fine. I'm gonna go with this. You know, you can always use longer afterwards. Okay, so while I switch my background on, I could see that, okay, perhaps I still need to, use my eraser a bit. So sometimes when switching on the visibility of the background, you can see, okay, the color needs to go further in. Otherwise, she has makeup smeared all across her face. So I'm just gonna even change it a bit more. So sometimes switching on the visibility of a layer helps to see that, okay, this is there's still too much makeup. Okay, so if I was to test if this looks better in another color, I could just go to Image Adjustments, Hue Saturation, and then simply change the hue in here. That's Image Adjustments, Hue Saturation. And then I could just see, does it look better in this color? Does it look better in that color? And blah, blah, blah. And even change the saturation if we want it to be stronger or darker and less colorful, and so on. So we could actually make this look exactly as we want. And I think, I'm in a tropical mood, so perhaps I'm gonna go with green today. A fresh green. Yeah. Cheers out there. Okay, so that's enough about the eye. The next thing we'll do is we'll try to, make the rest of her face look more artistic. So I'm gonna place some textures, and placing textures on top of pictures is often a way to, make your picture just look amazing. Especially if it's a very boring picture, then you can suddenly make it into something that is really inspiring. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say File, Place Embedded. And I'm going to use, I've placed 3 different textures in here, in this folder. And I choose 2 regular textures and then one that's totally crazy. And you don't, sometimes using the crazy texture is not always the way to go. But you will, it will make a significant impression on the, the picture. It will. You can make some serious style changes to the picture by using textures that stand out. For example, like this one. But using that, we'll just start out with texture number 9, and then we'll use 11 afterwards and 12 after that. And okay, so the way to do this is I'll just, when I place something, the bounding box comes up so I can change the size, and I'll just click enter, and I'll make sure that it's above the E as well, so it's on top of everything. And after having done so, I'll just try using a blend mode on this texture and see what happens. And often overlay or soft light is often good ways to go, because those are something that seems a bit realistic while still adding some of the texture to it. So often you will find overlay and soft light to be nice blend modes for blending in texture, whereas a lot of the others are really crude to the picture, but also this more noticeable on the picture. So it really depends on what you want to stand out. For example, if you wanted it to look like it's stone, like it's carved in stone, something like linear light seems as if it's sculpting this into look like stone, So it really depends on how much of the original picture you want to be able to see. So I think I'll go with the overlay. I'll start out, quiet, and then I'll start making noise later on. So overlay, and you could also dim down the opacity. Sometimes if you feel like, oh my God, that hard light really looks amazing, but it's too crude, then you could blend down the opacity, you know, and just make it be less crude to the picture. So it's really just a matter of figuring out what you like and then adjusting the opacity perhaps. The next thing I'll do is, if I find something I like, sometimes there is just one area where it doesn't look nice. There's, let's say that I don't like it in this region because it seems like it's brightening up that area. Well, then I would need to start erasing from that layer, from the texture layer. So you just do that by erasing. You simply just take your eraser, click on the layer, and it will say, this is a smart object. Do you want to rasterize it? Yes, I want to rasterize it. Again, a low flow value, and then you can simply just delete from that layer. You can simply just delete in that area. So you remove those parts that you don't like from that texture. So simply just delete in the regions where you don't like the effect of it. Okay, and you will continue this procedure 3 more times. So, you know, I could use more time on this one, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to place the next one, File, Place Embedded, and I'm going to use the one called Texture 11, do the same thing again, and normally, you know, you would never scale something up like this, because that means you're making it more pixelated. But in this case, it's a texture that's being blended, which you can barely see, so you will never notice that this layer seems pixelated. So when it's something you blend, unless it's a really rough blend, then you will not notice that something has been scaled up. Okay, so I'll use, you know, again, some kind of blend mode. And okay, just to make it quick, darken to darker color blend modes are ones that make the picture even blend the darkness so it becomes even darker, whereas lighten to lighter color makes the picture lighter, focuses on the bright areas of the layer and blends it with the light regions of the below layer. Overlay to hard mix is kind of like a mid-tone transition between the layers, and you know, then from difference and downwards, it's just weird stuff. Yeah. You can on LinkedIn Learning, there's actually a video where a guy explains for 2 hours just about what blend modes is. So you know, you can go in and watch those videos. But I just made the quick version. Yeah, I don't know if I need to exaggerate. You know, this really looks artistic. So you can really find something that looks artistic, but removes, you know, whatever was left of the original picture. You know, this does not look like the original anymore, but it looks, you know, very expressionistic. Yeah. Yeah, what am I going with? I think I actually like this, but I'm not going to go with that. That's just moving too far away from the original. What do I want? Okay, make a choice, Andreas. Make a choice. I'm gonna take hard light because that's very exaggerated. I don't want to go totally so subtle on everything. So in this case, you know, some areas I'm gonna change the opacity just to dim it down a bit, and then I'll use my eraser just to show you that, okay, so in some areas you perhaps would like to keep this overly expressionistic texture, whereas you will probably want to delete it in most other parts if you want to make this look like the original. So perhaps I just want this change to be inside of the eye. So I'm going to delete everything outside the eye, or at least a lot of the stuff outside the eye. So just use my eraser and just try to make it less texturizing on the skin. La 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 la. Yeah, whatever. This is I don't know. I just like this kind of rusty stuff that's going on top of the eye. It seems like her eye is starting to float out. So I really like that part. So that's what I'm trying to, keep. Just make sure you don't delete too much of the texture, because just keeping a bit of the texture on the skin makes it look more right inside of the eye. Yeah, I think this is cool. And now I'm just gonna take the last one, which is place embedded, and choose the one. This is gonna be this is gonna make the picture crazy, unless I really make it look subtle by using a soft blend mode. I don't know. I think perhaps I'll focus on the light being in the same direction. So it seems like actually the brightest areas of this picture is at the bottom. So I'll probably have to rotate this so it also seems like it's bright at the bottom. And I think this seems like yes, this is almost brightness from the same region. So I'm just gonna do it like that. You decide how you want to do it. There's no rules. This is absolutely just doing as you feel like. That's what this is about, because we've had a lot of other exercises in Photoshop where there's a specific step-by-step procedure. In this tutorial, I'm actually just showing you can do whatever you want, because I made this into a step-by-step, but I did it randomly. I made this tutorial based on randomness, right? Okay, so I'll just use any blend mode that seems right for the picture. And the picture is entirely disappearing. This is really a very noticeable texture. I think this color burn actually looks nice. Me and color burn in general are good friends. I'm often happy with the result when trying to make dark, ambient, dark horror pictures. Color burn is always a good friend to have. So I'm gonna go with color burn. Yep. And of course I will change the opacity, and I will start erasing. If some of you are wondering, what is this fill down here below the opacity? That's actually, if you include effects on the layer, then you could choose for the effects to become less visible while the layer is still more visible. So, but I'll just, change the opacity. Oh, it reminds me of something from Avatar. Should have made it blue. Oh, there's a new Avatar movie coming.
Yeah?
Yeah, crazy. Oh, yeah. Everyone was, when Avatar came out, I'm filming. We'll talk about that after. Okay, I'll make it quick. Everyone when the movie came out, everyone was wearing 3D glasses. So for like 3 weeks, Aalborg was filled with people wearing 3D glasses. Even when they went out to play pool or something like that, they were wearing 3D glasses. Yeah, that was when the 3D thing started happening in the movies.
Gave you an age, like it was not really good, I think, 3D.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about 3D afterwards, because that's a nice topic. Okay, so actually, I think this seems like I like this effect, but perhaps the color could be different. So I'm actually just gonna try something. I've never done this before. Well, I have, but not to this picture. So I like this, but it seems like it's the wrong color. So I'm gonna go with image adjustment, hue saturation, and then I'm just gonna see, will this look better in another color? And oh yeah. Oh yeah, I like this. I don't know. Perhaps I don't. Sometimes I get overexcited. I like the way it works on the skin down here. Okay, so this is less. It seems like by changing the hue just a bit to the right, it will make it a bit more subtle, while still being, totally distorting to the picture. So, okay, so I'll just try that and perhaps adjust the opacity a bit again. And okay, next thing I'll do is I'll take my eraser and then it will complain and I'll say okay. So I'll just start deleting from the areas where I think it's too much. Blah, 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 blah. I'll just do it quickly. Okay, so the next thing, I'm gonna go with this. It looks, that like this is more like an artwork now than it's just a regular eye, but it still looks like it's an eye, and perhaps you can start toying around with making some things different. If you wanted there to be like a gradient towards blue, you could also actually, instead of using gradient tool, you could just add another layer like this. Just add layer, then choose a blue brush and just simply paint blue on this layer. Let me see the flow. I'll just set paint with your eraser. Fantastic. And just simply paint blue. I'll just choose a lower flow and just use a blend mode. So I actually like the screen mode. I'm perhaps gonna go with that. I'm just gonna check. Amazing. Yeah, okay. It looks better on my screen than it does on the projection. But just something as simple as just adding blue and making a blend mode. Just it's like using a photo filter where you've specifically set where is the photo filter supposed to be on the picture. Whoa, that's ambient. Holy, I'm gonna try going with that. Okay, so I made a blue layer and switched it to being the opposite, so it's red now. But again, you could just, use image hue saturation to just, randomly choose which color it's supposed to be. But I love this color right now, so I'm gonna go with that. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do is that I'll go to File, Place, because now I'm gonna place butterflies inside of her skin. I'm just doing random stuff. You could take a crocodile and place it inside of her skin. You could take centipedes and place it below her skin, and blend it with the skin and so on, just to make it look horrible or make it look amazing, depending on what you're trying to get. So I'll take a butterfly. I'll pick a butterfly, just place it. Okay, so this is one of the pictures I will not just place because it has a lot of background and stuff on it. So this one I would actually just perhaps say File, Open, and choose for it to open this butterfly. And then in a matter of seconds, I would simply just, I would just quick select this butterfly. One. Perhaps choose a smaller brush. Whoops. This could be anything. I'm just saying I just choose a butterfly because I like the wings of butterfly. They often have a fascinating texture to them. So that can add, some fascinating elements to whatever you're working with, to whatever artwork you're trying to create with blend modes. Okay, so I'm just gonna switch the selection by saying select inverse, then delete. I'm not gonna use too much time on this because I know I'm gonna blend it afterwards, and then based on how it blends, I'll start erasing if some edges are too harsh. So this way, I can actually just save this and then afterwards place it. But I could also just, while I have this file, you know, just move it over to the other file, and that's going to be faster than having to save it and then place it. But if I want to reuse this on a later date, then perhaps save it, you know, as a PSD file. Okay, so I'm gonna use a lot of different things from now on. So I'm actually just gonna, all these layers that I've made already, all these, you know, I have a lot of layers here. I'm just gonna make them into one group so they don't take out all of my space inside of my layer. So I have selected several layers. That's just clicking at the top layer, not the sub butterfly, but the one below the butterfly. Then holding down Shift and clicking the background copy. Not the background, not all the way down to the background, but just before the background. Then I'll click the folder down in the bottom of the layers panel, and it will group these objects. And that way it doesn't take out too much space. And I'll just call that, you know, basic alteration. That's, you know, all of the stuff that I made to make this picture look different. You know, you could call it anything. You could call it a skovsnegl if you wanted to. Yeah, forest nail. Or Aalborg rocks at Roggen. Yeah, okay. Be serious, Andreas. Okay, I will. So I'm gonna free transform this butterfly wing. Whoops. But before doing so, I know that I'll be reusing this butterfly wing several times, so I get that texture into the skin in different areas of the picture. So I'll click Command J, you know, that was to make a copy, and I'll click Command J and Command J, and perhaps Command J. So I have 5 butterfly wings. And they're all located on top of each other, so I'll just hide the 4 of them. So otherwise, you know, every time I try to move something, there's going to be a butterfly wing below it or above it. So first I'm going to take this one, and I'll place that below her eye, because I noticed that this butterfly wing matches her eyelid's direction approximately. By free transforming Command T and rotating it, I can almost get it to fit below her eyelid. And you know, I could right click it and warp it to just make it fit even more, so it actually matches the direction of her eyelid. And yeah, that's gonna be fine. Like the same way that I warped the E inside of her eye. Okay, so now I'm just gonna try making a blend mode to just get it to blend in with the rest of the eye, and just making something like screen here, just add some few highlights in different areas. That could be a nice transition, nice blend. It could also be something that is more visible, or, you know, it's up to you, whatever you feel like makes your picture stand out better. I think I'm gonna go with screen per, I don't know. This is also nice. Yeah. I think I'll take pin light, and then I'm just gonna change the color. Oh, check that out, man. Whoa. Damn. I like that. But it's just too much, so I'm just gonna dim it down a bit. And then I'm gonna start using my eraser. I don't know why I loved it that much. I think it was because it turned into purple, you know. And then I'm like, yay, give me. Yeah, so I'll just start erasing with a low flow value. So it seems like there's a, you know, so it's not just a wing floating on top of skin, but it's a wing that's part of the skin. And you know, I'll do something similar to all of these remaining 5 layers, so I'll just locate them differently and just add blend modes and perhaps change the color and blah blah blah. Teach your language. Oh, I like that as well. I'm just gonna try changing the color of that as well. Oh, I didn't like that. Ah, that's nice. Soft light. And that's actually fine as it is, so I'm not gonna erase anything. Okay, so now you can just try doing the same as me. So I don't need to talk while doing this because you can actually see what I'm doing, you know. And this is me being random. I'm just being random, placing butterfly wings randomly where it looks nice and just, you know, blending them in and perhaps changing the colors a bit. And I know you want your break in a bit, but let's just get this video done, and then you can have all the break you want. Oh, that's also nice. Ah, I'm too much of a sucker for soft light. Shouldn't fall for that. Exclusion can somehow have this X-ray kind of look to it. So perhaps I want some X-ray. Nah, it just looks horrible. Not gonna do that. Yeah, I think that's enough. Okay. I could keep doing this, and I could just keep adding more wings, and I could keep, you know. Right now, I actually ended up darkening the above region too much. So perhaps I will actually focus on adding brightness to the top. And I could do that by just, you know, adding a layer adjustment and using a mask on it to say that it's just from above. I could also, like I showed before, just draw white or draw a light color and simply just blend it. So it's really Photoshop. You can just act impulsive and you can do stuff that's really fast and really has huge impact on the picture. I'll just make this into a group and I'll call this the butterfly effect. Nice movie, by the way, but also a nice theory about how a butterfly can flap its wings in Japan, making a hurricane in North America or something like that. So chaos theory, and I love chaos. Yes. Okay. So file. What is the next thing? Okay, I'll just place some ornaments. Yes, let's place some ornaments. This is a really crappy ornament, by the way. You would be able to find, you know, better looking ornaments on the web. So I was just like, whatever, I'll just find anything. But I'll try to make this ornament look nice. Just to show you that even crappy looking pixel objects can be made to look nice, or at least somewhat nice. But this picture is not gonna go, so I'm gonna say file open because I need to extract it first, and I prefer extracting in a separate document. You can actually just do it inside of this document as well, but then you have to deal with all of these other layers that's inside of that. So I'm just gonna go with the flow and open this document. And actually, something like select color range is a great way to actually choose for one color to just be selected. But so you can actually just choose for to click on red areas and hold down shift. This is like magic wand basically, but it's just showing a preview of what's being selected. So I could click OK, and then it has selected these areas, and then switch my lock off and invert the layer, and then simply click delete, and then you have an extraction. So color range is a tool that we haven't used yet, but I'm just showing you this can also be used as a magic wand. It's the great thing about color range is it actually shows you a preview of what you're actually selecting. So yeah, I think I'll stick with this. Notice that because I was being very hasty, it actually deleted some of the pixels inside of the leaves as well. But I don't care. I'm a rebel, chaos. We're just talking chaos, and I love chaos. I think the floral ornaments on the right look very bad. It looks like it's not even flowers. So I'm just gonna go with the ones on the left. And use them on my picture. So I'm gonna drag them into my picture right here, and I quickly notice that this extraction is quite rough at the edges. You see that there's approximately one pixel of something that doesn't look nice at the edges. So I'm gonna delete this again, go back to my original, and simply just command click my layer icon. Command click it so it selects everything. Then I'm going to say select contract, select modify contract, and say 1 pixel, bam. And then I'm going to invert it again, shift command I, and click delete. Select inverse. Yeah. Okay, so now I've deleted 1 pixel of the edge, and I'm going to move that over to my eye. Whoa, yeah. And you see when I place it now, there's not a white edge on the object. Okay. So I was saying before that when you blend stuff, it doesn't matter that you're gonna scale it up. This is an ornament. It's not gonna be blended. It's gonna be standing in front of the object. So I'm gonna rescale that in a second, and that's bad for the picture. You will notice that it's an artwork with a pixelated ornament in front of. So I'm gonna try fixing that by distorting the ornament. First of all, I'm just gonna, rotate my ornament and try just putting it down here somewhere and then scaling it up. Oops. I don't know. Perhaps like that. Perhaps differently. I don't know why I'm holding down shift. Never hold down shift inside of Photoshop, because you do that in every other program, but Photoshop is just, an asshole. So if you hold down shift, you will distort the proportions, as opposed to any other program from Adobe. Yeah. Or Adobe, you decide yourself what you want to call it. I'm not making choices for you on that. Okay, so I'm gonna go with this. I could have found some better ornaments on the internet, but I'm like more spontaneous, so I just pick whatever shows up as the first thing. The uglier, the better. And I'm gonna just put this on top as well, and just put it up here. So one other way to just make copies of layers, and this works in any program, because in Illustrator, Command J, for example, is join paths. So the shortcuts are different in every program for some things. But one thing that's the same for any program is if you hold down Alt and you use the Move tool, you can drag a copy. And you could do that in any program. And when I say Alt, I mean Options. It's the same thing, just different name. Okay, so right now I've scaled up my bad-looking ornament. So it's gonna be bad-looking and pixelated. So in order for me to get this to not look pixelated, I'm actually gonna apply something. I'm gonna make it look like it was supposed to look grainy or distorted. So I'm gonna add a filter. I'm gonna add noise, because then you cannot see pixels. If you add noise, it's gonna seem like it was intentionally supposed to be grainy. And that's actually sometimes a way to fix crappy pictures. And okay, so I'm gonna, of course, actually I think I'm gonna zoom in before I just start using this, just so you can see what happens. And also a great way to, a great thing about using noise is if you have something that has been shot on camera using a high ISO value, making pictures look a bit grainy. That's often what happens if you shoot in darkness. You choose to shoot in a higher ISO value because that improves the lighting. Even though it's dark, it will see how can I try to find light in the surroundings and intensify it. Or just artificially intensify lighting. That's actually probably more a correct term for it. How can I intensify the light artificially? Okay, and this actually isn't because you shot with a high ISO. This is because you added a million textures. Then it starts looking fine, nice, artistic, but it also looks grainy. So in order for my ornament to fit that description and also to remove its pixelation from scaling it up, I'll just add graininess. And so you can see, but what I normally do is I exaggerate. I just drag the handle up too much. And then I start moving it down so I feel a balance between how the background looks and how the foreground looks. And this approximately here is actually the point where I would start saying, oh, now it starts looking nice. You can choose yourself if you want it to be monochromatic or not monochromatic. If it's monochromatic, it will not include different colored pixels inside of the graininess. If it's not monochromatic, it will add, a lot of different grainy pixels. So a lot of colors in those grainy pixels. Yeah. So of course, monochromatic just means are we using, I would say black and white pixels to add the grain to the color which is being used? Or would I, instead of using just black and white pixels to the graininess, would I add also colored pixels to the graininess and the color, of course? There's no black and white. This is red, but it's in the red is being added black and light pixels. But if you choose monochromatic. But if you deselect the monochromatic so it adds colors, it's not just black, white, it's also green, blue, red, whatever. Just to get some variety of the graininess. So it's up to you, whatever you choose. That was just a description of it. Okay, I'll add that. And so I think since this looked nice, it's probably gonna look nice at the bottom ornament as well. So if I go to filter and just choose the topmost one, add noise, it will use it with exactly the same value. So that's every time in filter, if you choose the topmost filter, it's just that one always adds it with the same value you last used. So that's a great way to use the same effect again and again with same values. Okay, so next off, I'll probably add a layer style. I could do that by just double clicking on the right of my ornament. So I'll double click on the right of my ornament and add a drop shadow. I'm not going to use too much time making this look nice because we already talked about layer styles last time. So I'm just going to go with this one. I'm going to say this is fine, looks fantastic, never seen anything like it. It's great. And I'll want to add that same drop shadow below here. So to do that, I'll just actually right click all the way out. You see, just right after it says effect, there's kind of like this really small bar at the right. Just right click that one and choose Copy Layer Style, and then go to the other layer, right click it and choose Paste Layer Style, like that. And then it has the same drop shadow as well. Okay, we're almost done, almost done. There's actually just one more thing we need to do, and I want to make a frame on this picture. So I'm actually gonna do this easy. I'll just make a folder for this, call it Ornament, and I'm just gonna make another layer for my frame. And I think, I don't know, I just want a frame at the bottom and one at the top up here, not one that goes all the way down. Well, actually, do I? Okay, I'll do something different this time. Okay, so actually, I'll try drawing a frame. Yes, I'll just do it. I'll spontaneously draw a frame like that. Boom. Change the inverted, so it's selecting the reverse. Oh yeah, I'm using a Rectangular Marquee Tool, the simplest selection tool of all. And you know, I simply just selected an area here, and then of course I need to invert it, so it's selecting the outwards bounds, the frame region. And perhaps I'll just be a bit more precise. Like that. Okay, so select inverse, bam, and then I'll simply just make a frame, and I think I'll make this, you know, I'll just start out with any color basically. And I'll move this below the ornament, just in between those two groups, so the ornament is actually in front of this frame. And I'll just start checking out which color would be nice for this frame. So I'm just gonna just Hue Saturation, Image Adjustment, Hue Saturation, and just check out which color would look nice for this picture. I don't know. I actually feel like the color that I almost selected already was kind of nice. Kind of lies. I think I'm actually gonna go with something like this, even though it seems very much like something my mother would choose. The safe choice. Okay, so I'm gonna double click next to layer 4 just to add, because I would like, if it's a frame that's in front, I would like there to be some shading, some shadow at the edge of where the frame goes. So I'm probably gonna choose the one called outer shadow, outer glow, sorry. And I'm just gonna change this to, instead of being a glow, I'm gonna change it to being, you know, I'm gonna change it to being a dark color, and I'm gonna change it to be, let's say, color burn. So it's gonna make darkness instead, or perhaps darken. That often looks more soft. Color burn has a tendency to be very dramatic, whereas darken looks more, you know, realistic. And you know, you can add some spread if you want it to be even, you know, more a heavier drop shadow, and you could change the size as well and so on. And this and I think we're actually reaching the end. So perhaps you would also want the frame to have some kind of framey look, like you know, a frame for an artwork. So you could also add Bevel and Emboss to just make it three-dimensional. So you could why is it working on the outside of it? Hello, Bevel and Emboss. Oh, that's because I choose outer bevel. Let's take inner bevel. So you can make this really, you know, generic framey look. I choose inner bevel and simply just choose the size for the frame, and it actually looks okay. I would probably, you know, just work a bit more with how this bevel and emboss is gonna look, and perhaps how this contour is gonna look. And I could also add texture. There's some textures inside of Photoshop. You could also find textures on the internet, or you could, you know, make your own. I don't know. I hate this. Be gone, foul texture. And I think this is no. Let's take another color. Just 1 second. I know what's wrong with this. It's because I need the noise. I think that makes it better. Okay. So I think this is what I'm going with. You know, I could keep, you know, this is just something you could keep working on for hours, just to add stuff and toy around with stuff. And, you know, there's really no limits to how long you could use to try and improve and make this, you know, your unique masterwork. So, masterpiece. Yeah, I think that's it. Have a nice day out there and have fun in Photoshop. Yeah.